Jeff. We were trying to film the last 15 video so that we could sell it through the mail, and as it turns out, it came 2 minutes longer than an hour and 30 minutes. So in order to dupe it onto other tapes, we had to come up with another 25 or 30 minutes, otherwise there'd be a big blank spot. So I thought that I would go around with a camera and film some of the places that I slept in the period of time that I was in the band. The first one being the upstairs here, which is where Jake Philp and a woman named Betsy used to live, put me and Jack up on their couch for about a half a year. We bought this building for about a month. We stayed in this house behind me for about 6 months. We got kicked out 3 times. We shared it with some people from Earth First and some people from East Bay Food Not Bombs and some members of a band called Los Canadians from Miami, Florida. In 1990, I used to live right up the street, and this was a gas station. And they tore it down in 1990 and built these condos and immediately boarded them up and put a fence all the way around it. It's not there now. In 1995, 5 years later, I broke into it because I needed a place to live, and no one had been in it at all. And we stayed here for about a month. We had a clean and sober squat here. This is a house that I stayed in for a couple weeks right after I got clean. The house tried to make a decision to not allow hard drugs into the house, and they were going to allow liquor in the house. So I left and I went back to the condos that you just saw. Eventually, a lot of people who used hard drugs basically just took over, and eventually a 15-year-old kid from Atlanta, Georgia came and overdosed and died inside in the living room. And I got a little picture of her, and her name was Lauren Kimberly Bryan. This garage way back here down at the end of the driveway was my first attempt at paying rent. I was supposed to be renting it for I think $30 or $40 a month, and 2 days after I moved in, it rained a lot, and I found out that the roof was no good, and it flooded and destroyed all my stuff. Here for about a month with 2 runaway kids and an older guy, and we eventually got thrown out because they would keep stealing bottles of wine from the store next door and then running right back here. Stayed in this house just in the bottom floor for about 2 months, 2 different times, 2 months each. It was a little difficult because people lived upstairs and we had to be pretty quiet. We squatted this house for 6 months. The people who had the lease were friends of ours, and they all left town to go to Oregon, and we found out that the landlord had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stolen heating equipment in the basement there, which is actually still there. And so we decided that he couldn't actually kick us out because he would get more trouble than we would. And so we lasted 6 months here. We had anywhere from 40 to about 120 people here. We knocked down a lot of walls. We made a lot of lofts. We had a garden in the backyard. We had people living in tents in the backyard. We had so many dumpster divers that the kitchen was literally full of food all the time, and nobody spent money on food at all. So after we were there for a little while, we stopped for a while. We decided that it would be okay to paint on the walls. So one of the first things we did is we marked off everybody's height, and we used to sit in the living room and read stories out of Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. And eventually we found out that one woman there could do very large paintings almost in no time. And so we started drawing people out of who they had photographs of in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee and putting quotes that they had said from in the book there. And other people made all sorts of drawings after that. Just of like this kid got killed by a BART cop on a BART train, and pictures of Indians, and pictures of people that live there. And we did this on the ceiling. It was really complicated. I couldn't even explain how we got paint on the ceiling. Pictures of people we knew. And in my room, me and my friend Nick, we had a room and we had a chair on the door that you could actually sit on, and the door would still swing open and shut. And in our room we had a picture of Sitting Bull and Mr. Hendricks. And some people that lived in there. Mr. Marley, in our living room. Behind this wall, sleep next to the swimming pool here at the Chateau, mecca of everything in Berkeley. Used to sleep at this church quite a bit in the bushes and whatnot. I'd show you the exact place over here, but there's a guy sleeping there right now and we don't want to wake him up. I would sleep here sometimes. As you can tell, it says on the sign, all are welcome. And for some reason, this cop, his name would be Officer Fletcher. What's his number? Officer number 39, UC Police Department. He gave me a ticket for sleeping here, and it just sort of it sort of made something abundantly clear for me, because I wrote a song once and it said, all I want to be is a free man, but it's against the law to sleep on the ground in God's land. And I got this ticket for sleeping at the Church of Christ, Scientist. In the daytime, this is People's Park. Unfortunately, by the time that I was homeless, it was illegal to sleep here at night, and you'd be arrested for it, so I'd only sleep here in the daytime. Give you a really short history on what this park is about. In 1967 or 68, it was student housing, and the students that happened to live here all happened to be anti-war people and you know, anti-university people and stuff like that. So the university used a thing called eminent domain, came and kicked everyone out of their houses illegally and bulldozed the whole block. And then they built a parking lot down on this side of it. At one point in time, a man named John Reed had this wacky idea that he was going to go get a backhoe and tear up the parking lot. And so he went to an equipment rental place in Berkeley and told them that he was going to start the revolution. Would they please lend him a backhoe? And they thought he was joking, so they lent him a backhoe. And he came up here and he started tearing it up, and you know, there was rioting and whatever else and all that kind of stuff. But basically, people in Berkeley have kept up this park for the last 26 years. In 1991, the university did one of the boldest things they ever tried to do in trying to get rid of this park, which was they put this volleyball court here. And basically, nobody wanted to have a volleyball court here at all. What we wanted was to have free space, so that when people were play music or speak from the stage, that as many people as possible could fit here, and they wanted to interfere with that. So they started building a volleyball court, and immediately there was riots for a couple weeks, and by the end of those couple weeks, by the time this court was built, they had 15,000 cops from all over the state of California, and they spent $2 million in police hours to put this court in against the will of the people of Berkeley. Since then, a man cut the center post down with a chainsaw. Some punk rockers cut down this post with a chainsaw. People have been breaking those ones down lately. People have cut up these railing boards all around it over and over and over. On the 24th anniversary of the park, the eve before the 24th anniversary of the park, somebody stole a car up in the Berkeley Hills and drove it through that wall, poured gasoline all over the car, and set it on fire. And people have firebombed it a lot, and I even saw some Krishnas try and tear out that corner over there once. Sleep in this doorway quite a bit. Ironically, Billy Joe seems to be singing something about the park over there or something. Another place that I used to sleep at from time to time, and other places would fall through. I was in this house for a couple months with some of the kids who broke Jillaby off his legs. My better place to sleep is Cal Stadium. It's really nice because there's an overhang and you don't get wet, and we get woken up by joggers in the football team most mornings. I stayed up here for a couple weeks with some kids until we found out that we're all sleeping on poison oak and poison ivy. But I kept staying here sometimes on account of I'm not allergic to it. But eventually we got the UC Police Department came up here and threw all our stuff out of our bags and went through everything and left all these notes up saying that we had to remove our stuff within 24 hours or we'd be arrested, and that we were littering the area. Of course, they have a nuclear reactor right down the hill, but I guess pollution's in the mind of the beholder. We're on the UC campus now. I'm not even going to try and attempt to go to all the different places that I slept on the campus, but we'll just go to a few places in a few buildings. In most of the buildings on this campus, there are stairwells like these that go up to the top and just stop. And so I used to sleep up in places like this a lot. We developed the first anti-gravity device. Makes water go up. Grate here that I'm standing next to is one of many that goes into the miles and miles of underground steam tunnels on a UC campus. And due to the temperature, which is about 90 degrees day and night all year round, we used to live under the ground a lot. Another place we used to sleep, we generally get tickets here a lot when we sleep when we wake up in the morning. cops would come and give us tickets right next to beautiful Strawberry Creek, which thanks to the university is polluted with tritium. I had this grate come down, so you could only come down to right here. So I'd sleep here sometimes, and eventually, before they put this grate in here, I broke some of these slats out, and I would reach up around and open it and go sleep in this room, but then they put a grate in, I couldn't do it anymore. First place, when I was homeless when I was 14, this is the first place I started sleeping at. I forget what the business used to be, but they used to wake me up every morning and they never called the police on me, and so I ended up staying here for quite a few months at night, regularly enough to the point where friends would actually stop by and visit me sometimes in the night. Okay, this is the chancellor's mansion at UC Berkeley. I never really slept here, but a woman that I knew that I had gone to a couple demonstrations with, her name was Rosebud de Nevo. She came here one night and went around to the back and broke into a window with a torch, melted open the window, and set off a silent alarm. And the UC Police Department was up here like within a minute, got the chancellor and his wife out of the house, had her, Rosebud, sealed off in the house, totally surrounded by cops. And they called in the Oakland police and the Berkeley police too. And the rules and guidelines for dealing with a situation like that says that they have to first try to have her talk to a psychologist, to have her try and have her parents call her over the phone, have friends call her over the phone, have a sibling or a close relative call her over the phone, or that they're supposed to tear gas her, or that they're supposed to send a dog in. And they didn't actually try to do any of those things at all. Instead, they got a man on the Oakland Police Department whose name is Officer Chu, who had just got done recovering from being shot 5 times by a 15-year-old in Oakland, who's got to be kind of trigger happy, I would think. And they just sent him in there, and they shot her 4 times through the back, and they say that she was trying to attack them, but the coroner actually said that it seemed like she was most likely lying face down in handcuffs when the bullets went through her back, because one of the bullets went through her wrist at the same angle that it went through her back, so she was probably in handcuffs on the ground. Top of the stairway that I used to sleep at quite a bit here in the architecture building. Another stairway that I used to sleep in a lot. Unfortunately, we can't get out the door now, but we used to have large parties out on the roof. This is the last place we're going to show you because our battery light is coming on. Used to be able to sleep here in the daytime. Nowadays they kick you out for it. I kind of want to mention about what nowadays is like as compared to when I first found myself homeless. It was very easy to get by. Every time I get caught for sleeping, I'd never get a ticket. And what's happened in Berkeley, and also as I've toured the country and also Europe, what I found out is happening in every big town in the so-called Western civilized world is that being a homeless person is increasingly being criminalized by the exact same sort of methods, which basically leads me to believe that there's it's coming down from above, and then somebody thought of it up high and has decided to implement it in all the big cities. And basically what it amounts to is you get fined for sitting on the sidewalk, you get fined for sleeping in public, you get fined for asking for money. Obviously homeless people can't pay for tickets, so they don't even bother dealing with court, then they get warrants, and then they have to leave town, and the idea is to just make all these people go away or incarcerate them. So I don't know, sometimes it's really frustrating because